I am Megan, 34 years old, and until last month, I was still that scared little girl desperate for my family's approval. At my father's promotion celebration, my mother slapped me across the face in front of 50 guests. My brother Jason clapped. My father Robert simply smirked and said, "Serves you right." They never saw me as more than their punching bag, but that night changed everything. 2 phone calls later, I watched their perfect world collapse like a house of cards. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and hit that subscribe button if you've ever had to stand up to toxic family members. Growing up in the affluent suburbs of Chicago, I always felt like an outsider in my own family. My mother, Elizabeth, a former beauty queen turned socialite, scrutinized my every move since childhood. My appearance, my grades, my friends, nothing was ever good enough. "Stand up straight, Megan. That dress makes you look wide. Why can't you be more like your brother?" These phrases became the soundtrack of my childhood. My brother Jason, 2 years younger, but seemingly light years ahead in our parents' eyes, could do no wrong. Star quarterback, valedictorian, Ivy League graduate, the golden child whose shadow I lived in. Even when he wrecked Dad's car at 16, Mom blamed the poorly designed road. When I made honor roll, it was merely what was expected. Then there was my father, Robert, CEO of Hartwell Investments, a man whose approval I chased like a mirage in the desert. Never abusive like Mom, but his passive enablement cut deeper sometimes. He'd witness Mom's tirades, Jason's taunts, and respond with his trademark phrase, "That's just how family is, Megan." I poured myself into my career, finding validation where my family offered none. At 34, I had clawed my way to senior marketing executive at Thomson Media, one of Chicago's premier advertising firms. My latest achievement, landing the Henderson account worth $20 million, should have been cause for celebration. My colleagues threw a small party. My boss praised my innovative approach and determination. My family mom asked if I'd finally start dating again, now that I had something to offer. Despite everything, I still hoped. That's the curse of family trauma. That relentless hope that next time will be different. So when Dad's promotion to executive chairman was announced, I saw it as another chance. Maybe this time they'd see me. Maybe this time I'd be enough. I spent 3 hours getting ready for the celebration dinner. My navy blue dress was professional yet elegant. My presentation was polished. I'd even prepared a short, heartfelt speech for Dad. My therapist, Dr. Rivera, had helped me draft it during our session the previous day. "Remember your boundaries, Megan," she'd said. "You're attending this event as an adult woman with accomplishments of your own, not as the little girl seeking validation." I'd been seeing Dr. Rivera for 3 years, ever since a particularly vicious Christmas dinner left me having panic attacks in my apartment bathroom. She'd helped me understand the dynamics at play, the scapegoat role I'd been assigned, the golden child status of Jason, the enabler in Dad, and the narcissistic control exerted by Mom. The week before the dinner, I called Allison, my best friend since college. "I'm nervous about Saturday," I admitted. "You know you don't have to go," she reminded me. "Family obligation isn't a suicide pact." "I know, but I want to try one more time. For me, not for them." "Then I'll be on standby. Text me if you need an emergency extraction." I arrived at Salvatore's, one of Chicago's most exclusive restaurants, at exactly 6:30. Dad had reserved the entire rooftop terrace. Crystal chandeliers glittered above tables adorned with white roses and silver candelabras. A string quartet played softly in the corner. Nearly 50 people milled about: family members, business associates, old family friends. My mother spotted me first. Her critical gaze swept from my shoes to my hair. "You're here," she said, no warmth in her voice. "Your brother arrived 30 minutes ago to help set up." "No hello, no thanks for coming. Just an immediate comparison to Jason." "Hi, Mom. The place looks beautiful." "Your dress is rather plain for such an occasion, isn't it?" And so it began. I took a deep breath, remembered Dr. Rivera's advice, and moved toward the bar. 1 glass of wine to take the edge off. Just one. Jason intercepted me, champagne flute in hand designer suit impeccably tailored. "Well, if it isn't the prodigal daughter," he smirked. "Didn't think you'd show after the Christmas fiasco." This is Dad's night. I wouldn't miss it. Right. Always trying to win points. Some things never change. He clinked his glass against mine without waiting for me to raise it. Good luck tonight. You'll need it. The warning signs were all there. The cold greeting, the immediate criticism, the veiled threats. But still I stayed. Still I hoped. That hope would die before dessert was served. Salvatore's rooftop terrace hummed with conversation and laughter as waiters circulated with trays of appetizers. The 50 guests represented the entire spectrum of my family's social circle. My father's business partners, my mother's country club friends, distant relatives who appeared only for major events and a few childhood, neighbors who'd watched us grow up from behind pristine white fences. I nursed my single glass of wine, making small talk with my cousin Angela, the only relative who ever stood up for me. She squeezed my arm supportively. You look great, Megan. I heard about that big account you landed. That's incredible. Before I could thank her, my mother's voice rang out, calling everyone to their seats. The long rectangular table had place cards. Mine was at the far end, almost in the corner, while Jason sat at Father's right hand. The first course arrived. Seared scallops with truffle oil. Dad stood to give a short speech about his journey at the company. He thanked his mentors, his business partners, and finally his family. To my wife Elizabeth, the backbone of our home, he raised his glass. To my son Jason, following in my footsteps at the firm, another proud smile. Then almost as an afterthought, and to Megan, doing her marketing thing. Titters around the table. My marketing thing had generated more revenue last year than some small country's GDP, but in this world it was trivial compared to the sacred realm of finance where the men in my family operated. As dessert was being served, I gathered my courage. I had prepared a short toast, something heartfelt yet appropriate. Doctor. Rivera had helped me draft it, balancing sincerity with the boundaries I was still learning to establish. I gently tapped my glass with my spoon. I'd like to say something, I began standing. 50 pairs of eyes turned to me. I felt my heart racing but pressed on. Dad, your achievement is a testament to your dedication and vision. Is this really necessary, Megan? My mother's voice cut through the air like a knife. She didn't wait for an answer, always needing to be the center of attention. I faltered but continued. I just wanted to share how proud... We've already heard the official toasts, she interrupted. Again, louder this time. From people actually involved in Robert's career. Not everyone needs to perform. The table fell quiet. I could feel my cheeks burning. Mom, I was just trying to what make this about you again. She stood now, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she gestured dramatically. Just like you tried to overshadow Jason's graduation with your drama. Or how you spent your father's last birthday dinner talking about your little promotion. That's not fair, I said, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. I've never tried to overshadow anyone. Not fair, her voice rose dangerously. What's not fair is how you've always been the difficult one, the ungrateful one, while we've given you everything. The guests shifted uncomfortably. Some stared at their plates. Others watched with the barely disguised fascination of witnessing a car crash. I'm grateful for what you've given me, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But that doesn't mean I have to accept being treated like... The slap came without warning. One moment I was speaking, the next my mother's hand connected with my cheek with enough force to snap my head to the side. The sound echoed across the suddenly silent terrace. My ear rang. My vision blurred momentarily. Then came the sound that would haunt me, slow, deliberate clapping. Jason leaning back in his chair, applauding with a smirk twisting his handsome features. Finally, he said, someone needed to snap her out of it. I turned to my father, a last, desperate hope that he would intervene, that he would finally stand up and say this had gone too far. He met my gaze, but instead of the outrage or protection, I sought his lips curled into a small, satisfied smile. Serves you right, he said just loud enough for nearby tables to hear, always pushing boundaries. 50 people witnessed my humiliation. 50 people watched as my mother assaulted me, as my brother mocked me, as my father endorsed it all. Some looked away in embarrassment. A few older women nodded in agreement with my mother. My cousin Angela half rose from her seat but was pulled back down by her husband. I stood frozen, my cheek burning dignity in tatters. The string quartet had stopped playing. A waiter hovered uncertainly nearby dessert tray suspended in midair. I think I finally managed my voice surprisingly steady that I should leave. Typical Megan Jason called out as I gathered my purse. Can't take a little criticism without running away. I didn't run, walked to the elevator. Back straight, head high, though tears threatened. The ride down 17 floors felt eternal. The sympathetic glance from the hostess as I passed through the restaurant nearly broke me, but I made it to my car before the first sob escaped. Sitting in the leather driver's seat of my Audi, I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel and finally let the tears come. Not quiet, dignified tears, but ugly, gasping sobs that shook my entire body. I cried for the little girl who never felt good enough, for the woman still seeking approval from people incapable of giving it, for the decades spent trying to earn love that should have been unconditional. When the tears finally subsided, I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Mascara streaked down my cheeks. A red mark bloomed where my mother's hand had connected. But in my eyes, I saw something new resolve. Enough, I whispered to my reflection. This ends now. I drove aimlessly through Chicago's streets, the city lights blurring through my tears. Traffic lights changed from red to green to yellow, but I barely noticed. My mind raced faster than my car, replaying not just tonight's humiliation, but a lifetime of similar moments. My 10th birthday, when Mom criticized my childish excitement over presents. My high school graduation, when Dad left early for a business call. My first apartment, which Mom declared depressingly small, and Jason called pathetically decorated. Each memory stacked upon the next, a tower of pain I'd been carrying for decades. Without conscious decision, I found myself driving to Lake Michigan. I parked at the deserted beach and walked to the water's edge. The May night was cool, the water black and endless before me. I hugged myself against the breeze, my designer dress offering little warmth. No more, I whispered to the vast darkness. I can't do this anymore. My phone buzzed in my purse. Allison. I had texted her a brief 911 before leaving the restaurant. Megan, what happened? Are you okay? Her voice was tight with concern. She slapped me, Allie, in front of everyone, and Jason clapped. Oh my God. Where are you? At the lake. Just thinking. Don't move. I'm coming to get you. No, I'm okay. I have my car. I need to figure out what to do next. Come to my place. We'll figure it out together. You shouldn't be alone right now. Part of me wanted to accept to curl up on Allison's couch with a blanket and her unwavering support. But something else was stirring inside me, a clarity I'd never felt before. I need to go home first. There's something I need to check. Megan. I'll call you in an hour, I promise. My apartment welcomed me with silence. I kicked off my heels and went straight to my home office. The bottom drawer of my filing cabinet contained a folder labeled Family Blank, documents I'd been collecting for years without fully understanding why. Bank statements, emails, photos, conversations recorded during family meetings when I worked briefly for Dad's company before striking out on my own. I spread them across my desk and began to organize them chronologically. A pattern emerged that I'd subconsciously noted but never fully acknowledged. Financial discrepancies, ethical shortcuts, business deals that skirted the line of legality. 3 months earlier, I'd visited Dad's home office to borrow a book. While searching his shelves, I'd accidentally knocked over a stack of folders. While gathering the scattered papers, certain transactions caught my eye. I took photos with my phone, telling myself it was just to ask Dad about them later. But I never did. Deep down, I think I knew what I'd found. My father's company, Hartwell Investments, managed portfolios worth billions. Their sterling reputation was built on my father's supposed integrity and conservative investment approach. But these documents told a different story. Client funds redirected to experimental investments without proper disclosure. Tax documents with discrepancies. emails discussing how to reframe losses to appear as strategic moves. And my brother's name appeared throughout his initials, approving transactions that seemed designed to benefit certain clients who later made substantial gifts to my family. I wasn't a financial expert, but I'd absorbed enough during family dinners and my brief employment at Hartwell to recognize these weren't just aggressive strategies. These were potentially illegal activities that could harm clients who had trusted my family with their life savings. My phone buzzed again. A text from Jason Way to ruin Dad's night. Again, hope you're proud of yourself. I set the phone down without responding and continued examining the documents. The deeper I dug, the clearer the picture became. My father and brother weren't just cutting corners. They were potentially engaged in fraud. And my mother, with her lavish lifestyle and social connections, provided the respectable front that kept questions at bay. For years, I'd endured their emotional abuse while they positioned themselves as Chicago's model family, the respected businessman, the devoted socialite wife, the brilliant son, and me, the difficult daughter who couldn't quite measure up. But these documents revealed the truth. Their success, their status, all of it was built on deception. They'd made me feel morally inferior while engaging in behavior that could land them in prison. My hands trembled as I gathered the most damning evidence into a separate folder. Was I really considering this? Was I really prepared to potentially destroy my own family? I called Allison. "I'm at home," I said, when she answered, "and I found something. Something big." "What are you talking about? Are you okay?" "I have evidence that Dad and Jason have been involved in financial improprieties. Serious ones." Silence on the line. "Then Megan, that's huge. What are you thinking of doing?" "I don't know yet. Part of me wants to confront them. Another part wants to turn everything over to the authorities." "This isn't just about tonight, is it?" "No," I admitted. "It's about 34 years of being made to feel worthless by people who've been living a lie." We talked for almost an hour. Allison listened as I processed aloud, neither encouraging me to act nor discouraging me from doing so. That's why she was my best friend. She respected my ability to make my own choices, even difficult ones. By the time we hung up, my path was clear. This wasn't about revenge, though the hurt part of me couldn't deny a certain satisfaction. This was about justice. For the clients who trusted my family, for the little girl who was never good enough for the woman still carrying those scars. I spent the rest of the night preparing. I organized documents, made copies, wrote detailed explanations. I researched relevant regulatory agencies and whistleblower protections. I contacted my own attorney to ensure I was legally protected, as I had briefly worked at the firm years ago. At 3 a.m, I took a shower, letting hot water wash away my tears and uncertainty. When I emerged, I studied myself in the steamy mirror. The red mark from my mother's slap had faded, but the memory remained vivid. "You're not that little girl anymore," I told my reflection. "You're not powerless." I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I prepared for the 2 phone calls that would change everything. Not just for me, but for the family that had spent a lifetime making me feel I didn't matter. The morning light filtered through my blinds as I sat at my kitchen island documents arranged in precise stacks before me, my phone centered like a weapon I was about to deploy. I'd changed from my cocktail dress into jeans and a simple blouse, armor of normalcy for the battle ahead. My coffee had gone cold untouched. My stomach knotted with anxiety, but my resolve remained firm. The red digital numbers on my microwave showed 7:30 a.m., early enough that I'd catch people beginning their workday, late enough that they'd be alert and focused. I picked up my phone and dialed the first number, the confidential ethics hotline for Hartwell Investments. My father had established this line years ago as part of his commitment to transparency. The irony wasn't lost on me. Hartwell Ethics Department. The voice was professional, detached. "My name is Megan Hartwell." I began, my voice steadier than I expected. "I'm Robert Hartwell's daughter, and I need to report serious ethical violations involving senior management." A pause. "Miss Hartwell, are you aware of the implications of such a report?" "Completely aware. I have documentation to support everything I'm about to share." For the next 40 minutes, I methodically outlined what I'd discovered. The misrepresented investments, the misleading client communications, the suspicious transfers. I detailed dates, account numbers, and names. I offered to provide all supporting documentation. "We take these allegations very seriously," the ethics officer said when I finished, "especially given they involve the chairman and other senior executives. I'll need to escalate this immediately to our external compliance partners to ensure independent investigation." "I understand. I'll email the documents as discussed." Miss Hartwell, her voice softened slightly. "I must ask, why are you doing this? These allegations could significantly impact your family." I closed my eyes briefly. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because clients trust Hartwell with their futures. And because no position or relationship should place anyone above accountability." After hanging up, I sat motionless for several minutes, absorbing the weight of what I'd just done. There was no going back now. The investigation would proceed regardless of whether I changed my mind. My second call was to Gerald Wakefield, the family attorney who had handled Hartwell legal matters for 20 years. I'd deliberately chosen to call him at home rather than his office. "Megan, this is unexpected," he answered, surprise evident in his voice. "I apologize for calling on a Sunday, Gerald, but this is urgent and confidential." "Of course. How can I help?" "I need to legally separate my financial affairs from my family immediately. Trusts, inheritance considerations, joint accounts, everything." Silence stretched across the line. "This is unusual. Has something happened?" "Yes, but I can't discuss details. I've just reported significant ethics violations at Hartwell Investments. I need to protect myself from potential fallout." His sharp intake of breath told me he understood the gravity of the situation. "Megan, have you considered the implications of this action? The personal consequences?" "For 34 years, I replied. "I'll come to your office tomorrow with everything you need. Please prepare the necessary paperwork. I should inform you that if this involves allegations against your father or the company, I may have a conflict of interest." "I understand. In that case, please refer me to someone who can represent me independently." After ending the call, I had intended to stop there. 2 calls. One to trigger the professional investigation, one to protect myself legally. But as I sat reviewing the documents once more, I discovered something I'd overlooked: correspondence, indicating potential tax irregularities that went beyond Hartwell Investments' internal practices. These weren't just ethical violations, but potentially criminal actions. My hands trembled as I contemplated what this meant. If I truly believed in accountability, I couldn't stop at an internal investigation that might be quietly resolved. I made a third unplanned call to the Financial Crimes Division of the regulatory authority overseeing investment firms. This call was longer, more detailed, with more probing questions from the agent who took my report. "We'll need you to come in and make a formal statement," the agent said. "These allegations are extremely serious." "I understand. I'll bring all supporting documentation." "Are you aware that this may become public? That criminal charges could result?" I thought of my mother's hand striking my face, my brother's mocking applause, my father's enabling smirk. "Yes," I said firmly. "I'm prepared for whatever comes next." After completing the calls, I implemented security measures I'd researched overnight. I changed the locks on my apartment door. Thankfully, I'd never given family members keys, but I couldn't be certain. I backed up all documents to secure cloud storage. I documented the threatening text messages Jason had sent overnight, along with voicemails from my mother that oscillated between rage and manipulative concern. Then I sent a single email to key extended family members. "I want you to hear from me directly before rumors begin. At last night's dinner, Mother slapped me in front of everyone when I attempted to toast Dad. Jason applauded this assault. Dad endorsed it. This was the culmination of a lifetime of emotional abuse I can no longer accept. I've taken steps to protect myself and others that may have significant consequences for our family. I'm safe and have legal representation. Please respect my privacy during this difficult time." I forwarded the same message to Allison, adding, "It's done. Could I possibly stay with you for a few days? I'm concerned about potential retaliation. Her response came immediately. Already made up the guest room. Bringing your go bag to my place now. Don't answer your door until I get there. As I packed essentials for an extended stay away from my apartment, my phone exploded with notifications. Text messages from relatives. Missed calls from my parents. Voicemails I couldn't bring myself to listen to yet. One text from my cousin Angela simply read, "Whatever you did, I support you. Call if you need anything." By noon, I had checked into a hotel under Allison's name, using cash for additional privacy. From the anonymous safety of the room, I watched news alerts appear on my phone. Hartwell Investments announces internal investigation, the first public ripple of what would soon become a tsunami. I felt simultaneously powerful and terrified, vindicated and guilty. But beneath the chaos of emotions, something else was emerging: freedom. For the first time in my life, I wasn't defined by my family's expectations or manipulations. I had chosen truth over comfort, justice over loyalty to those who had never shown loyalty to me. That night alone in my hotel room, I slept better than I had in years. Monday morning arrived with alarming speed. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar curtains and the momentary confusion of the hotel room before reality crashed back. I reached for my phone, steeling myself for what I might find. The business news homepage featured a small but significant headline: Hartwell Investments announces comprehensive internal review amid allegations. The article was cautiously worded, mentioning only that concerns regarding certain investment practices had prompted a review by external auditors. No names, yet no details of potential misconduct. But my family knew. My phone displayed 37 missed calls, 15 from my father, 12 from my mother, 10 from Jason. Voicemails filled my inbox along with dozens of text messages that I scrolled through with detached fascination. From Jason: "What the hell did you do? Dad's been called into an emergency board meeting." From Mother: "Call me immediately. This childish behavior has gone too far." From Father: initially confident: "Whatever you think you know, you've misunderstood. Call me so I can explain." As the morning progressed, his messages grew increasingly desperate. "Megan, please. The board has suspended me pending investigation. This is a misunderstanding that could ruin everything we've built." I forwarded everything to my new attorney, Sandra Chen, whom Gerald had referred me to first thing that morning. "Document all contact attempts," she advised. "Don't respond to anything. We'll meet at 2 p.m. to discuss next steps." At 9:30, Allison texted, "Your brother just showed up at your apartment building. Security turned him away." By 10, my cousin Angela called. "Aunt Elizabeth is calling everyone in the family, saying you're having some kind of breakdown. What's really happening, Megan?" I gave her the bare minimum, that I'd reported ethical violations and was now legally separating from the family. She didn't press for details. "About time someone stood up to them," was all she said. "Stay safe." My boss, Director of Marketing Tina Jacobson, called next. "Megan, there's a situation brewing that might affect our Henderson campaign. Hartwell Investments is one of their portfolio managers. Anything you can tell me?" "I'm sorry, Tina. I can't discuss it, but I should take a few personal days until things settle." "Understood. Just keep me informed if this might blow back on our client relationships." By noon, the story had expanded. Financial news sites reported that trading of Hartwell Investments stock had been temporarily halted pending an announcement. Business analysts speculated about possible regulatory concerns. I met Sandra at her downtown office, a sleek space 40 floors above Michigan Avenue. Unlike Gerald's traditional wood-paneled chambers, her office was modern with glass and steel, reflecting Chicago's skyline. "The ethics department has already contacted me," she said after introductions. "They're moving quickly, which suggests they've found corroborating evidence. The regulatory authority has scheduled your formal interview for tomorrow morning." "What should I expect?" "They'll record your statement, review your evidence, and ask extensive follow-up questions. This won't be easy, Megan. They'll probe for any personal motivations that might undermine your credibility." You mean they'll ask if I'm just a vindictive daughter? Precisely. We need to address that head on. Your family history will come up. We should prepare for that. We spent 3 hours preparing for the interview, anticipating questions, reviewing documents. By the time I left, afternoon had faded into evening. I returned to the hotel to find a message from the front desk. Someone matching my brother's description had inquired about guests. They hadn't confirmed or denied my presence, but it was clear my family was actively searching for me. As I considered my next move, my phone rang with a number I recognized. My office building's security desk. Miss Hartwell, this is Carlos from security. Your family members are here demanding access to your office. They're causing quite a scene in the lobby. My family, who exactly? Your father, mother, and brother, ma'am. They're insisting it's a family emergency. Your brother attempted to use a similar last name to get past reception. I'm not there, Carlos. And they absolutely do not have permission to enter my office or access any of my belongings. Understood. Would you like us to call the police? They're becoming disruptive. I closed my eyes, imagining the scene, my poised, controlled family unraveling in public. Yes, please do. Within the hour, business news sites published updates. Police called to Thompson media offices an incident involving Hartwell family, with grainy photos of my brother being escorted from the building. My phone rang again, an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. You ungrateful little bitch. My brother's voice slurred with what sounded like alcohol. Do you have any idea what you've done? Dad's career is over. Our clients are panicking. The board is talking about bringing in outside management. Jason, I can't talk to you. My attorney has advised. Your attorney. Listen to yourself. We're your family. After everything we've done for you. Like publicly humiliating me, undermining me for decades, using me as your emotional punching bag. You're really going to destroy this family over one slap. Grow up, Megan. This isn't about the slap, Jason. It's about the fraud, the mismanagement of client funds, the lies. Silence, then. You don't know what you're talking about. The regulatory authority seems to think I do. So does the ethics committee. So does the board that suspended Dad. We will never forgive this. You understand that, right? You're dead to this family. I laughed the sound, surprising even me. I've been dead to you all for years. The difference is now I know it. I hung up and immediately blocked his number, then did the same for my parents. Sandra had advised against engaging, and I'd already broken that rule. No more. That evening, I watched from my hotel window as Chicago's lights blinked on across the skyline. The city continued its rhythms oblivious to the personal earthquake reshaping my life. My phone continued to buzz with news alerts. Hartwell Investments Board appoints interim CEO amid regulatory inquiry. Financial regulators confirm investigation into Hartwell investment practices. Hartwell stock down 28% after trading resumes. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt a complex mix of vindication, grief, and something else I couldn't quite name. Perhaps the vertigo of finally stepping off a path I'd followed my entire life. Allison texted CNN just mentioned the Hartwell investigation on their business segment. You okay? I don't know what I am, I replied honestly, but I don't regret it. That night I dreamt of my childhood home, not a nightmare, but a strange, peaceful dream where I walked through empty rooms touching furniture and photographs before walking out the front door without looking back. 3 days after making my reports, I returned to work. Sandra advised against hiding indefinitely. It could appear as though I had something to hide. Thompson Media had enhanced security with instructions to deny entry to anyone from my family. My colleagues had been told only that I was dealing with a personal situation related to the Hartwell investigation in the news. I had just settled at my desk when my office phone rang, the front desk security. Miss Hartwell, your family is here again, all 3 of them. My heart raced. I thought they were banned from the building. They are. They're outside on the public sidewalk. But they're causing a scene and your father is demanding to speak with you. Says he won't leave until you come down. I called Sandra immediately. Don't engage without witnesses, she advised. If you want to speak with them, do it in the building lobby with security present. I can be there in 20 minutes. I need to end this, I said. They'll just keep coming back. Then let's end it properly. Wait for me. I tried to focus on work while waiting, but found myself staring at the same email for 15 minutes without comprehending a word. My boss, Tina, stopped by concern etched on her face. Security called me. Your family is making quite a commotion downstairs. I'm so sorry about this, Tina. My attorney is on her way. Megan, we support you, whatever's happening. Thompson Media stands behind our people. Her words nearly broke my carefully maintained composure. Thank you. That means more than you know. When Sandra arrived, we took the elevator down together. Through the glass lobby doors, I could see them. Father in his tailored suit, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Mother in Chanel, her perfect posture, a counterpoint to her reddened face. Jason pacing aggressively gesturing as he argued with a security guard. Ready, Sandra asked. No, I admitted. But let's do this anyway. We stepped into the lobby, security personnel flanking us. Through the glass doors, Jason spotted me first, pointing and saying something to my parents. They turned as one, and for a moment we simply stared at each other across the barrier of glass and years of dysfunction. The security chief approached us. Miss Hartwell, we can continue to keep them outside, or we can permit them into the lobby for a brief conversation, if that's what you prefer. We have additional personnel standing by. I looked at Sandra, who nodded. Let them in, but at the first sign of trouble, they're out. The doors opened. My family entered like invaders, breaching a fortress. My father leading with artificial confidence, Mother with cold fury, Jason with barely contained rage. Megan, my father, began, voice carefully modulated to project reasonable concern rather than the panic I could see in his eyes. This has gone far enough. Whatever you think you're doing... Mr. Hartwell, Sandra interrupted. I'm Sandra Chen, your daughter's attorney. Any communication should go through me. This is a family matter, my mother hissed. We don't need lawyers to talk to our own daughter. Given that Miss Hartwell has reported potential financial crimes and experienced physical assault from family members, legal representation is entirely appropriate, Sandra replied smoothly. Jason stepped forward, finger pointed at my face. You think you can just destroy everything we've built because your feelings got hurt? Do you have any idea what's happening? Our clients are pulling millions in assets. The board is talking about permanent removal. Our name is being dragged through the mud. Step back, sir, a security guard warned, moving between us. This isn't about hurt feelings, I said, finding my voice. This is about fraud, about mismanaged client funds, about illegal practices. You don't understand what you saw, my father insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. Those transactions were complex but completely legitimate. The regulatory authority seems to disagree. Because you've presented things out of context, he shouted, composure cracking. Files, you had no right to access conversations you misinterpreted. Robert, my mother warned, attempting to regain control of the situation. She turned to me, voice softening in that manipulative way I knew too well. Megan, darling, we know we've had our differences. Perhaps we haven't always been as supportive as we could have been. But this is extreme, even for you. Even for me, I echoed. What does that mean, Mother? You've always been sensitive, dramatic, turning small slights into grand injustices. Your slapping me in front of 50 people wasn't a small slight. It was one moment, one mistake in a lifetime of providing for you. Jason scoffed. She's always been like this. Always the victim. That's enough, Sandra interjected. This conversation is clearly unproductive. Stay out of this, Jason shouted, his face reddening. He lunged forward, only to be immediately restrained by 2 security guards. You have no idea what she's like. The constant attention-seeking, the perpetual disappointment. Nothing was ever good enough for precious Megan. The lobby had grown crowded with onlookers. Employees frozen on their way in or out. Receptionists standing to watch security personnel speaking urgently into radios. My family's carefully constructed public image disintegrated with each passing second. "I think we're done here," I said quietly. "We are not done," my father roared, his carefully cultivated executive demeanor evaporating completely. "Do you know what I've sacrificed for this family? The corners I've had to cut to maintain our lifestyle? To pay for your private schools and your fancy apartment and your therapists?" The lobby fell silent. Even Jason looked startled by this admission. "Dad," he warned too late. "What corners exactly?" Robert Sandra asked, voice deceptively casual, as she activated the voice recorder on her phone. My father seemed to realize his mistake. He stepped back, straightening his tie. "I've said nothing improper. I've built a legitimate business that has helped countless clients achieve financial security." "By misrepresenting investment risks?" I asked. "By channeling funds into ventures you had personal stakes in? By creating false documentation to hide losses?" "You don't understand how this business works," he insisted, but the confidence had drained from his voice. "I understand enough. I understand that you and Jason have been defrauding clients for years. I understand that you've cultivated a reputation for integrity while lacking any moral compass whatsoever." My mother stepped forward, hand raised, just as it had been at the restaurant. This time I didn't flinch. Security moved faster, blocking her approach. "Ma'am, if you attempt to assault Miss Hartwell again, you will be arrested," the security chief stated firmly. "Assault," she sputtered. "She's my daughter." "That doesn't give you the right to hit me," I said. "It never did." The elevator doors opened, and Tina emerged with several other executives. They surveyed the scene with professional concern. "Is there a problem here?" Megan Tina asked. "These individuals were just leaving," the security chief answered for me. "Voluntarily or with police assistance. Their choice." My father's shoulders slumped in defeat. For the first time in my life, I saw him as he truly was, not the towering figure of my childhood, but a man who had built his success on lies, both professional and personal. "This isn't over," he said, but the threat sounded hollow. "It is for me," I replied. As security escorted them out, my mother turned back her perfect mask, cracking to reveal genuine confusion. "Why, Megan? After everything we've given you, why would you do this to your own family?" I met her gaze steadily. "Because you never gave me the one thing I actually needed, Mother. Respect." The glass doors closed behind them. Through the transparent barrier, I watched them argue on the sidewalk. Jason gesticulating wildly, father on his phone, mother standing rigid with shock. A news van pulled up to the curb, a reporter emerging with microphone in hand. My family scattered like startled birds. "Are you all right?" Sandra asked quietly. I realized I was trembling, but not from fear. From release. "Yes," I said, surprised, to find it was true. "I really am." Back in my office, I found messages from colleagues expressing support. Angela texted that other family members were reaching out to her, asking for the real story. The Hartwell family myth was unraveling thread by thread. That afternoon, the news broke wider. Hartwell Investments faces multiple regulatory inquiries amid fraud allegations. Financial analysts began dissecting the company's past reports, identifying discrepancies that had been hiding in plain sight. Business partners distanced themselves. The family's social circle contracted overnight. I watched it all from a strange remove, as though observing a movie, rather than the implosion of my family legacy. The next morning, a more personal headline appeared. "Whistleblower in Hartwell case, identified as founder's daughter." My privacy was gone, but so was my shame. As Sandra had predicted, questions about my motivations surfaced. Was this just family revenge? I addressed it directly in my formal statements to investigators. The public humiliation I experienced was the breaking point that gave me courage to report what I'd discovered, but the fraudulent activities stand on their own merits, documented and verifiable. In the days that followed, others came forward. Former employees who had been silenced clients, who had questioned transactions only to be smoothly reassured. My isolated action became part of a larger reckoning, and in that process I found unexpected allies and a strength I hadn't known I possessed. A week after the lobby confrontation, my father was formally removed as chairman. 2 days later, my brother was placed on administrative leave. The company announced a comprehensive restructuring to restore client confidence. Our family name, once synonymous with financial acumen and social prestige, now appeared in cautionary business ethics case studies. The personal fallout was equally seismic. Extended family divided into factions. Old family friends chose sides. My mother's social standing crumbled as country club memberships were quietly revoked and charity board positions became suddenly unavailable. Through it all, I maintained my boundaries. No contact with my immediate family. No public statements beyond what was legally required. No engagement with the gossip and speculation that swirled through Chicago's elite circles. Instead, I focused on rebuilding my life, not as a Hartwell, but simply as Megan. 6 months passed like a fever breaking. Autumn painted Chicago in amber and crimson as I walked along the lakefront path, breathing in air that finally felt clean. My phone buzzed with a text from Allison's CNN breaking news. Sentencing announced. I found a bench overlooking the water and opened the news app. Robert Hartwell, sentenced to 7 years for investment fraud, the headline declared. The article detailed the conclusion of the case that had consumed financial news cycles for months. My father had accepted a plea deal acknowledging responsibility for fraudulent practices, while insisting he had acted in what he believed was his client's best interests. Jason had received a suspended sentence and 5 years of probation, plus permanent barring from the financial industry. He had cooperated with investigators, ultimately testifying against our father in exchange for leniency. My mother faced no criminal charges, but had not escaped consequences. The divorce she filed for 3 months into the investigation was nearly complete, leaving her with significantly less than the settlement she'd anticipated, as the family assets were frozen for client restitution. I closed the app and watched waves lapping against the shore. The vindication I'd expected to feel was there, but muted beneath layers of grief, relief, and something that felt surprisingly like peace. My own life had transformed in ways I couldn't have imagined that night 6 months ago. After providing all necessary testimony, I had resigned from Thompson Media, unable to face the daily whispers and sideways glances. Tina had understood providing a glowing recommendation that emphasized my uncompromising integrity. I used my savings to start a small marketing consultancy focused on ethical businesses and nonprofits. Beginning with 3 clients, referred by supportive former colleagues, I now managed accounts for 12 organizations whose missions aligned with my recalibrated moral compass. My apartment had been sold too full of memories and associations with my former life. I'd moved to a bright loft in a different neighborhood filled with plants and art, and none of the designer furnishings my mother had insisted were necessary for proper living. The psychological transformation had been more profound than the external changes. Weekly sessions with Dr. Rivera continued focusing now on building a healthy future, rather than processing past trauma. "You've done something remarkable," she told me during a recent session. "You've broken a generational cycle of dysfunction. That takes extraordinary courage." Courage didn't feel like the right word. Necessity, perhaps. Survival. The simple recognition that continuing as I had been would have eventually destroyed me from within. The hardest part hadn't been the investigation or the public scrutiny. It had been accepting that the family I had desperately sought approval from for 34 years was never going to be the family I needed. That realization brought both freedom and loss, the death of a hope I'd carried since childhood. Some family relationships had survived the upheaval. Angela and I had grown closer, meeting monthly for dinner where we carefully avoided discussing my parents or brother. 2 of my father's siblings had reached out with unexpected support, sharing stories of his controlling behavior dating back to childhood. Most surprising was a letter I received from my paternal grandmother, a woman who had always seemed to embody the Hartwell family values of appearance and achievement above all. "I have watched this family damage good hearts for 3 generations," she wrote in shaky handwriting. "What you did took more of the Hartwell strength than anything your father or brother ever accomplished. I should have spoken up decades ago. I hope you'll visit an old woman who is prouder of you than you know. Our subsequent meetings revealed a woman nothing like the stern matriarch of family gatherings. Without my parents present, she was warm, insightful, and full of regret for her role in perpetuating harmful family patterns. As for my immediate family, the separation remained complete. My mother had attempted contact through increasingly manipulative means, guilt-laden letters, mutual acquaintances, even a tearful appearance at my office that resulted in another restraining order. My father from prison sent a single letter that contained no apology, only philosophical musings about how family loyalty should transcend all other considerations. I returned it unopened. Jason, perhaps the most shattered by the collapse of his golden child identity, vacillated between rage and reconciliation attempts. His latest message delivered through his attorney suggested he was ready to forgive me when I was ready to acknowledge the damage I'd caused. I declined to respond. Instead, I built a chosen family. Allison remained my steadfast support. Colleagues became friends. I joined a support group for survivors of family trauma, finding connection with others who understood the complex grief of necessary estrangement. 6 months after my mother's slap triggered the avalanche that buried my former life, I stood on the threshold of something new, not perfect or painless, but authentic in a way my existence had never been before. That evening, I hosted a small dinner party, my first in the new apartment. Angela and her husband Allison and her new girlfriend, 2 friends from my support group, and my grandmother who insisted on being called Evelyn rather than grandmother. That makes me sound like a fossil in a museum. As we gathered around my table, sharing food and stories and genuine laughter, I realized this was what family was supposed to feel like. Safe, accepting, a place where masks could be removed rather than permanently affixed. After my guests departed, I sat on my balcony watching the city lights, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. The path had been brutal, the cost enormous. But sitting in the quiet aftermath, I finally understood removing toxic people from your life isn't an ending. It's the beginning of the life you were always meant to live. The pain doesn't disappear overnight. The grief for what should have been lingers. But each day without the weight of seeking approval from those incapable of giving it brings new clarity, new strength, new joy. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is walk away from what hurts us, even when that hurt comes disguised as love wrapped in the package of family. Sometimes creating boundaries isn't selfish. It's the most profound act of self-care possible. If you're watching this and recognizing your own family in mind, know that you deserve better. That family should build you up, not tear you down. That love should never leave bruises visible or invisible. That you have the right to protect yourself from harm no matter who is causing it. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between family loyalty and your own well-being? Let me know in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Share it with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to choose yourself sometimes. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember, the family we choose can heal the wounds inflicted by the family we were born into.